GrowCFO is where finance leaders grow together. Join thousands of like-minded professionals using GrowCFO to access the combined knowledge and experience of the finance leader community. You can join us today at growcfo.net. Hello and welcome to the GrowCFO Show. I'm your host, Kevin Appleby, and this week we don't have a guest. And this is a first for me. In 5 years of podcasting, firstly on the Next 100 Days podcast with Graham Arrowsmith and more recently on the GrowCFO Show, I've never ever sat down in front of the microphone with no guest or no co-host. So going solo after 5 years feels like a big challenge. There's a second big challenge that's also taking me a little bit outside my comfort zone today, and I've done it because I am sitting down by myself. Graham and I, on the next 100 days, over 250 episodes, we've never yet properly scripted a show. We've always sat down and had a fireside chat, either between ourselves or with the guest that's come along to join us. And I've taken that same formula into the GrowCFO Show, and it's worked very well up to now to get a really natural conversation flowing between myself and whoever the guest is this week. But I was a little bit nervous today and didn't want to move too far out of that comfort zone. So I decided to do things the other way around and write the show notes before I recorded the show. So a little bit of today is me reading and probably elaborating on the show notes as I go along. And I thought today's topic was really talking about GrowCFO itself, because we publish the GrowCFO Show every week and we talk to the guest and we talk about a topic. But the podcast is really only a small part of GrowCFO. So I thought in this week's show we'd actually take a look at how you as a finance leader can benefit from the wider CFO community and use GrowCFO to your advantage. And being a successful CFO isn't easy. Becoming a CFO requires commitment and dedication towards delivering your full potential. Securing the top CFO role is the ultimate aspiration for most ambitious finance leaders. When delivered effectively, it offers a lucrative career full of exciting challenges alongside the personal satisfaction of making a huge impact. But therein lies the issue. A constantly evolving role carries huge responsibility and significant pressure for ongoing urgent tasks. CFOs often feel overwhelmed and stressed out, leading to procrastination and struggling to see the bigger picture during decision making. You may feel very self-reliant and exposed to others, creating a loss in confidence and imposter syndrome, which can rapidly diminish performance levels. But the most successful CFOs possess a strong financial foundation, an integrated understanding of the role, and high levels of gravitas around board members. They build trusted teams, implement robust integrated systems, and generate confidence, while supporting senior management and driving decision making. So that leads us to, why is GrowCFO there? You need support to be that great CFO, to be that great finance leader. And it is a lonely place at the top, so we're trying to do something about it, and that's really what's behind the whole thing. So who's GrowCFO for? Well, GrowCFO is aimed at finance leaders. It's not just CFOs. Finance leaders have loads of different job titles. You might be a finance director, VP finance, head of finance, and there are probably half a dozen other titles that I see commonly across our members. We think of CFO as a term that refers to the person who has the number one role in finance. And if you are the number one role in finance, or you aspire to that number one role in finance, then GrowCFO is for you. You could be a CFO already, or you might have ambitions to take that role in the near future. Now, if you're looking to take that role on in the near future, well, we've got some big resources that can help you. There's the Future CFO Program that we run, And I spoke to Dan Wells, our founder, just 2 or 3 episodes ago on episode 20, and we went into what the future CFO program is about in some depth. If you are a CFO, you could be very experienced, or you might be new to the role. If you are new to the role, or you want to build your experience, we can help there too. We're developing at the moment the Finance Leader Program. And alongside that, we offer mentoring. Catherine Clark leads our mentoring team, and I talked to Catherine in depth about mentoring in one of the early episodes of the GrowCFO Show. I think it was back in episode 5. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. If you want to find out more about mentoring, go listen to that. Go to the website at growcfo.net, and if you're a member, well, get in touch with us and we can talk in more detail. For experienced CFOs, GrowCFO is actually a place to give back. We know that many CFOs coming to the more senior years of their career, like myself, like our own CFO, Stuart Trude, one of the things that we want to do is give back and encourage the next generation of finance leaders. Now, we know that we've been there, we've done a lot of stuff, and we've got loads of experience. Chances are the things that you might be struggling with are things we've already solved. We need to collaborate, we need to network, and we need to work together to help you. So that's really what GrowCFO is all about. And I think back to how did GrowCFO start? And Dan Wells started GrowCFO back in January 2020. Prior to that, he was an equity partner in KPMG. And Dan had been speaking to lots of his clients about the sorts of things that they needed and were lacking. I first spoke to Dan in February last year, and by that stage he'd already got a thriving community of CFOs established. We met on LinkedIn, and Dan is an expert at networking on LinkedIn, and I dare say many of you that are listening may well have met Dan for the first time, or even met myself for the first time on LinkedIn by simply us making contact and starting a conversation. My meeting with Dan on LinkedIn ended up moving from LinkedIn Messenger to an extended phone conversation. Turned out to be the first of many phone conversations. Not long after that first call, I invited Dan to be a guest on the Next 100 Days podcast. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well if you want to go back and have a listen to that episode. But my friendship with Dan grew from there. I actually remember that first phone call with Dan quite well. I was sitting in a branch of Costa Coffee when we made contact. I'd just returned from my last face-to-face client meeting. I haven't had one since that day. Little did I know at that stage, the next meeting with that client would have to take place over Zoom calls, over conference calls, and things like that. The project was actually coming to an end, and the next project didn't happen. We suddenly ended up in lockdown. And actually, just after that call with Dan, my normal life started falling apart. The project that I was on was coming to a close anyway. That wasn't expected, but we'd been talking about the next project for quite some time. It never happened. I was also working in the classroom with IA seminars. One of the things that I do is deliver financial management courses. Sort of courses that are intended to develop tomorrow's finance leaders. After a career as a management consultant, I realised that an awful lot of things that I did to help the consulting project, to help the business change, to help the finance transformation, and so on. Mostly the finance teams that I was working with didn't know how to do. They couldn't generally furnish the change project with the information it needed, with the help it needed. And I saw a real need to go teach that sort of stuff. And a lot of what I was doing with IA seminars in the classroom was having a safe space that people could learn practical rather than theoretical skills. And I was teaching most of the skills you need to be a successful strategic business partner. Things like business strategy, business planning, budgets, rolling forecasts, zero-based budgeting and cost reduction, understanding the economic engine of the business, the real things that make money, not things that are in the P&L or the balance sheet, but things that you need activity-based costing and tools like that to understand. And a huge amount of my consulting background in PwC and later was talking about KPI reporting, non-financial reporting, and I was part of the team that developed the balanced scorecard methodology back in PwC, and I taught an awful lot of that in the classroom. But that relationship with IA seminars came to an end very abruptly, as we couldn't do things in the classroom anymore. Fortunately, that's going to go forward with some classroom type, but delivered over a screen delivery later this year. So hopefully we'll get back into that space. But everybody was in lockdown. I added some free resources to Dan's website to help finance leaders who needed to replan very quickly during lockdown. But at the same time, I was looking to take those things that I taught in the classroom into the online space. And Dan and I started talking. We realised that we were both looking to deliver helpful resources to essentially the same group of people. And we decided that there was no point in us each developing what we wanted to do separately. It made total sense to develop it together. So that's really how Dan and I came together in GrowCFO. Now, but why GrowCFO? And Dan can trace that idea of GrowCFO back a lot further than last January. Back to the many CFOs and finance leaders he used to meet as his Big Four clients. And they were all telling him that there was a gap. They were asking Dan for advice. They were asking Dan what their peer CFOs were doing because they weren't networking, they weren't talking. And really our mission started way back during a focus group a while back with ambitious finance leaders. Dan listened very carefully to the challenges that nobody was dedicated towards solving. And listening, it's obvious that some of the things that we need to deliver were not there. Becoming a CFO requires you to learn many new skills that take a long time to master. They're things that you never learned to pass your exams, that you never learned them to become an accountant. You need a whole different set of things to be the co-pilot to the CEO, to the skills you need when you're just simply looking after the finance team as head of finance. People feel overwhelmed with the tasks and battling problems that have already been solved by others. Why aren't we just getting people together and getting them to share experiences, share the way these things can be solved? Because CFOs often feel lonely at the top. They've got nobody to work with, nobody to collaborate with. And the whole concept is a strong collaborative peer group within GrowCFO. So the message is clear. Finance leaders require easy access to the combined knowledge and experience of the whole CFO community. We needed to build an independent organisation fully dedicated towards helping ambitious finance leaders to achieve their full potential. So GrowCFO is there for you to achieve that potential. Even before last January, across the past few years, we've been busy creating offers that you, the finance leader community, need. I've been working in the classroom. Catherine has been mentoring CFOs for a long while, as well as being a CFO herself, as has Stuart Trude. And we've developed peer group development programs and private mentoring for aspiring or first-time CFOs. We've developed a huge library of online training lessons to cover your CFO competency framework. And that's accredited as well now for CPD. The Future CFO Program, for example, is worth 40 hours of accredited CPD learning. And there's loads of collaborative events, forums, there's this podcast, and we're covering a huge range of relevant topics. Now, everything we do is designed to support you in the most time efficient manner that we can think of, and to help us give back to the next generation of finance leaders. That's essentially the mission, and we hope that that mission is sufficient to inspire you to come along and join in and enjoy the benefits of collaborating. So what actually happens in the GrowCFO community? Well, first of all, the GrowCFO community itself is free to join. All that we ask is that you are a finance leader, okay? And we're quite picky in a way about people that aren't finance leaders. We don't want the GrowCFO community to turn into another LinkedIn where it's overpopulated by people trying to market their services. So that's not what this is all about. This is all about collaboration, networking, and helping each other. It's not about selling. Once you're a member, you can network with your fellow finance leaders and join in online discussions. Meet face-to-face, over Zoom, as well as in the various online forums. And hopefully we can supplement that after COVID-19 with actual in-person events, and we can see each other in the flesh. We can always hope. So how does that work over Zoom? Well, the key event every 2 weeks, it happens on a Thursday, 1 p.m. UK time, over Zoom, the Situation Room. Situation Room is our live Q&A forum. There's no fixed agenda. If you've got a question to ask the community, you bring it along, or you can ask it online in the notes below the meeting invitation before the meeting, and we bring it into the meeting. Okay, but it's a place that you can meet other finance leaders, you can get to know each other, you can chat, you can share issues, you can share problems. And the nice thing about this not being planned, not being scripted at all, is that a huge range of diverse topics have been discussed. Last Thursday lunchtime, we actually talked in depth about the economic outlook for the next couple of months. And we got a whole range of diverse views because we brought together folk from all over industry. People that had different experiences throughout the pandemic that's happened over the last few months, that are surviving in different ways, that are facing different issues. And we certainly had some interesting issues of how the most recent lockdown is combining with Brexit and is combining with a number of other features to give us some particularly interesting situations right now. It's a very, very useful discussion. I don't know if we necessarily concluded anything, but we certainly managed to chew through all the issues. A few weeks ago as well, one of the issues that raised in the Situation Room was the subject of cash flow. A lot of you will have been needing to produce cash flow forecasts a lot more frequently and a lot quicker than you're probably used to. And the question was asked quite simply as, okay, I keep producing these cash flow forecasts. I keep having to trawl through the accounting systems and find the latest figures as the source of my cash flow model, as the basic figures that I'm projecting forwards from. Surely there must be a way that I can automatically get the numbers out the finance system and put them into my forecast. And that forecast automatically updates as the bank balance changes, as the debtors' balances change, as the creditors' balances change, as we pay payroll, as we do various different things. And the answer, of course, is yes, there is. And there are a number of solutions to do that. And we then talked about it in the other regular GrowCFO event, the Future of Finance Functions. Now, once a week, again, it's a lunchtime event. It happens at 12 o'clock UK time on a Tuesday. And nearly every week we meet to discuss systems, roles, automation, what a modern day finance function should look like, and how it's likely to evolve going forward. And we've covered a whole range of topics. So when cash flow was clearly an issue, we got in a guest from a company that actually produces one of those automation solutions for cash flow to come and talk to us, tell us what was in the marketplace, what his product did, and what other products were available, and what you needed to know about it. Now, we've covered loads of topics in the best part of 12 months in Future of the Finance Function. We started off in session 1 gathering the community together in Zoom and just having an open discussion, asking what folk needed to know about. And that's a general spirit of how GrowCFO operates. We try not to deliver to you what we think you want to know. We ask you what you actually want to know and then act on it. Cash flow came up in the situation room. We talked about it in a future finance function session. But a lot of other things came out of that first session. In fact, we've still got things on the list that we haven't managed to cover yet. We've talked lots about different finance systems. We've talked lots about automation of those finance systems. We've talked lots about new technology that's emerging. We've talked about things like blockchain, cryptocurrency, and so on. We've talked about business change. We've talked about building the team around your finance function. We've talked about the challenges of reviewing your finance team's performance in the last year when everybody was working in some very unusual conditions because of the pandemic. We've looked at the people needs going forward. We've talked about those change programs, how to resource them properly, how to manage them properly. We've looked at people's experience of implementing new finance systems. What are the do's, what are the don'ts? We've looked at how you build the business case to put a new system in. Or if a business case is coming to you as the CFO, asking you to spend a large amount of company money, what should you, the CFO, be looking for in that business case? How should you be challenging it? So we've covered a huge number of things, and Future of the Finance Function, like the Situation Room, is a regular event that's open to any member of GrowCFO, whether you're a free member or whether you're a premium member. The other thing that's open to everybody, but particularly interesting to our lady members, is the Women Finance Leaders group. Women Finance Leaders meet around about once a month. And the purpose of it, it's an active group, very active group, focusing on the issues that our lady members find give them the biggest challenges. But having said that, it's a group that's not just for ladies. Men, I'm told, are quite welcome as well. Actually, I have sat in on a couple of their events and they are really good. But it's looking at things that ladies find particularly difficult. We did a session on imposter syndrome. We've done a session on assertiveness and covered a lot of things. That first session, in the same way as the Future of the Finance Function, we sat down with the people that came along to that and asked them what the issues were. We had some great help. Helen Cowan and Claire Allen, two really experienced lady business coaches from the Tall Wall, which is a coaching firm that specialises in coaching senior female managers, came along and helped us get the session started, and Claire and Helen have led a number of the sessions subsequently to that. So coming out of that, we realised that ladies wanted to learn more about building their own brand. They wanted to learn more about influencing. They wanted to learn more about assertiveness, difficult conversations. And the topics have grown. We've covered an awful lot in there, and it's a very, very valuable session. In fact, some of the ladies have told me that just coming along for the Women Finance Leaders group makes GrowCFO worthwhile just by itself. But there's GrowCFO Premium. Everything I've talked about up to now is actually part of GrowCFO free membership. But if you really want to get the best out of GrowCFO, if you're really keen to develop your skills and progress your career, there's a lot more available if you're a premium member. Touch very briefly right at the beginning on mentoring, and one of the things that we can do but can't be free is professional mentoring, because that takes a lot of personal time from one or more of our mentoring team, all of whom are great and experienced CFOs. Catherine Clark leads the mentoring team, and Catherine is a superb mentor and is really, really experienced at helping people through situations. She's great at teaching soft skills, she's great at teaching strategic business partnering and so on. And that mentoring program can really help you develop. It's not coaching, it's practical, sit down, talk through your issues, and lead and help you get through the situation in the here and now and improve what you're doing. Mentoring will support you and your personal growth by stretching you. It'll help you move out of your comfort zone and closer to your full potential. Now, once you've joined GrowCFO, you can request a chemistry call and you find out if mentoring's right for you. Now, once you become a premium member, you've got access to all of GrowCFO's development programs. We touched earlier on the Future CFO program, but we've also got the Finance Leader program as well. And they're two great programs with a huge curriculum to help you identify your skills gap and accelerate your career development. They help you build an action plan. And we've got lots of lessons and modules in those programs that have got other inspirational CFOs coming along and teaching things. And where necessary, people who aren't CFOs. And there's a fair amount of input from a gentleman that was a guest on the GrowCFO show last week and talking to me about boards and how they work, Patrick Dunn. Now, Patrick has loads of experience in the boardroom. He's loads of experience at being a chair, at being a non-exec. But he's not a CFO. He knows what he'd expect from a CFO, and that therefore makes him a great person to teach that to potential and existing CFOs. Besides the two big programs, there are loads of online lessons as well. There are short courses that can help you look at lots and lots of things that you might need to dip into to develop your skills. So there are hundreds of online lessons. I think in total there's now something like 200 lessons in the training centre. So Premium GrowCFO gives you a whole load of resources. We've got a couple of events as well for our premium members that happen on average once a month. There's either an audience with or a Monday masterclass, and we tend to swap about between those two month on month. An audience with tends to be interviewing somebody who's very experienced, who has been there, done it and got the t-shirt. A few months ago we interviewed Zarin Patel, who was the CFO at the BBC for a number of years. Patrick Dunn has been a guest on an audience with Patrick, talking about the relationship between the CEO, the CFO and the board. And Monday Masterclass also delves into some more detailed topics. That's more a teaching session than an interview. In an audience with, the live audience on Zoom have the opportunity to jump in, ask the person questions and take the conversation in particular directions. Monday Masterclass is much more about dropping deep into a topic. Stuart Trude ran a Monday Masterclass looking at business exit. What's the process leading up to that transaction to sell a business? What are the things you should look out for maybe 2 years out from that transaction? Then 18 months out, 12 months out, 6 months out, and so on. And Stuart shared his experience of having gone through that process on a number of occasions. I led one of those sessions looking at cost reduction, bringing together a whole range of experience that I've picked up on various consulting engagements to take cost out of businesses. And we've got many more Monday Masterclasses and audience widths planned as we go through into 2021. That's only a little bit of what's next for GrowCFO. I suppose the biggest change that's happening at the moment is happening around the technology. We started way back last January when Dan first set this up on a Mighty Networks platform. Mighty Networks is a business that sets up sites for groups that want to network, and it gives some basic functionality to do that and some basic functionality to set courses up and so on. But we quickly found out that that Mighty Network wasn't good enough for what we wanted to do. We went through CPD accreditation and we found that what could be done on the Mighty Network wasn't really good enough to satisfy the accreditors. So we built those courses on our own separate website. Even having done that, we got something akin to that letter that you always get from the auditors. We'll give you a clean bill of health, but we recommend you have a look at these few things. And we realised that the only way we could do that was with our own software and so on. So we upgraded the software on the website so we could do that. And we realised that we were putting more and more on GrowCFO.net, which is very separate to the mighty network that we started on. It got confusing. It means that members end up with 2 logins, one for the community on the mighty network, one for the learning centre. It's difficult to administer. It's not the best user experience, and we really want to improve that. So we're moving everything now to the website, and we're going to close down what's on the mighty network. Now, obviously, there's a lot of work involved in there, so Dan, myself and others, we're pretty flat out at the moment making that move. The exciting thing is that there's a mobile app in development as well. One of the things we didn't want to lose that we really liked about Mighty Network was the ability that we could use the Mighty Network mobile phone app for GrowCFO. But there's a new one coming along. We don't quite know what it's going to look like yet. The people that are building it haven't quite released it. But the second quarter of 2021 is going to be the time that we really develop that and put it in place. So there's a lot to look forward to. So GrowCFO, for a business that's very young still, we're only just a year old, but we're progressing fast. I've just been amazed at the number of people that are now part of GrowCFO, both as standard members and as premium members. It's a community that really, really excites me. I'm looking forward to taking it further. And who knows what's next? Maybe instead of all these online events, we can actually do a live in-person event, and we can meet you face to face in the flesh. Well, I think that's all for this week. Hopefully next week I'll be back with a guest. But thank you for listening.